everyone, it's Jasmine
and Chris.
Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are talking all about tofu. We asked you if you wanted us to do a video like this, and so many people said yes, so here we are.
We're going to be using different types of tofu like silken, medium, firm, extra firm, and we're also going to be showing you different methods on how to prepare them.
The reason why we wanted to do this video is because there's a misconception that tofu is gross. People say that it is bland, and of course it is bland. It's literally just soybeans and there's no seasoning, no flavoring, so you gotta season it. Tofu makes a great base for so many recipes. Depending on how you season it, you can actually use it in both savory and sweet applications. We're gonna show you both today, and hopefully this video will convince you that tofu is delicious and get you to try more tofu recipes. Before we get this video started today, we wanted to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, which is Thrive Market.
If you haven't heard of Thrive, it's an online marketplace that's on a mission to make healthy living easy and affordable.
They have thousands of wholesome food, beauty, and home products on their website that are curated specifically for their members.
On Thrive Market, you can filter products by your values and dietary preferences. So whether you're gluten-free, vegan, raw, or you're feeding a family, you can filter by those preferences. And you can also shop along 70 plus qualities, including non-GMO, fair trade certified, BPA free, and more.
Thrive Market also has the Thrive Gives initiative, which allows low-income families, veterans, and teachers to have access to organic, non-GMO, and natural foods and products. Another cool thing is all of Thrive Market's boxes, packaging, and inserts are 100% recyclable and are made from recycled materials, and they're also a 100% carbon neutral company certified through carbonfund.org. And their certification covers national shipping, packaging materials, warehouse utilities, and even the commutes of their team. So if you want to check out Thrive, they have a 1-month membership option and a 12-month membership option depending on what works for you. We have the 12-month membership option just because we love Thrive Market. And if you are not sure if Thrive Market is the best for you, they actually have a 30-day trial period. So if you get a membership and you realize you don't like it, they'll give you a full refund before 30 days.
If you want to check out Thrive Market for yourself, we have a link in our description box. It's thrivemarket.com/sweetsimplevegan. You can get 25% off your first order and a free gift.
So if you're new to tofu, you may get confused when you go to the store and you see all the different varieties of tofu, and you may not know which one you should choose for the recipe that you are making. So we are going to go over 4 different types before we get into the video. And the different tofu varieties vary depending on their firmness and the amount of moisture in them. Also on some tofu packages, there is a firmness meter. So the higher the firmness, the lower the amount of moisture, and vice versa. So that's something you can also take a look at as well. So first we have silken tofu, and silken tofu is the softest tofu. This is an undrained and unpressed Japanese style tofu, and it has the highest water content. Therefore, it has a custardy texture. This is great in blended foods like smoothies, desserts, puddings. Today we're going to use it in a mousse. You could also use it in savory applications like dressings, sauces, and dips. You may also come across soft tofu at the store, and soft tofu is the Chinese equivalent to silken tofu. It's less smooth, but it can be used in the same exact way. Next we have medium tofu, and medium tofu is denser than silken tofu, but it is still pretty delicate. And the reason why we're using this is when you freeze it and you thaw it and you do that once more, it makes the perfect vegan chicken texture. We learned this from Mary's Test Kitchen, and she experimented with it and she discovered that medium tofu was the best option for that. It can also work well in gently simmered soups. Next up we have firm tofu, and firm tofu can be used in many different ways. It can be pan fried, it can be stir fried, even crumbled into tofu scramble, or in the video today we're going to show you how to make some taco meat with it, and it absorbs flavors really well and it has great texture. I feel like it's kind of a basic form of tofu. This is our go-to in this house, and this is the one I would recommend for beginners. Lastly, we have extra firm tofu, and extra firm tofu out of all of these is the most dense and it has the least amount of liquid. Extra firm tofu holds its shape really well, and it's great for slicing, cubing, pan frying, stir frying, and deep frying. You can also use it to bake or grill, and you can also crumble it like firm as well. Firm and extra firm are pretty interchangeable in different recipes. The only thing is extra firm doesn't absorb marinades as easily as firm, so just keep that in mind. If you want a more flavorful tofu, if you're going to marinate it, firm tofu may be your best bet. The first tofu preparation method we are covering in today's video is pan fried. I feel like this is the most simple and straightforward method, and it doesn't require many tools or ingredients. So we're going to be making an easy lemongrass tofu today from our blog, and we're using firm tofu for this, but you can also use extra firm as well. let's just dive into it. The first step to this recipe is actually to press our tofu, and you're going to be doing this for a few other recipes in this video as well. And the reason why you need to press tofu is, think of tofu like a sponge. You want to drain out all of the flavorless liquid and then replace that liquid with a flavorful marinade so that your tofu tastes good. So to start, we're going to cut open our tofu container and we're going to drain out all the liquid. Remove the tofu from the container and wash the bottom of it. And then you're going to take a sharp knife and carefully cut some holes on the bottom. Place that onto a lipped plate or a baking dish, and then place the tofu on top along with a clean kitchen towel and some heavy flat objects, and allow that to press for about 30 minutes to an hour. Once the tofu is pressed, you're going to cut it based on the requirements of your recipe. So for this recipe, you just need to simply dice it. So that's what we're going to do here. First up, I'm adding some oil to my pan. I'm gonna add in my pressed tofu in a single layer, and we're going to saute this until it's nice and golden, flipping often so that it gets golden on all sides. We're also going to add a pinch of salt to that as well. Once the tofu is golden, I'm going to remove that from the pan and set it aside. To the same pan, I'm going to add another tablespoon of oil. And once this is heated up, I'm adding in some garlic, green onion, lemongrass, some red chilies, and some ginger. I'm going to cook this until it's nice and fragrant and soft. Once that's all cooked, to my pan I'm adding in some soy sauce, some maple syrup, and sesame oil. Then I'm going to add in my tofu and mix that all together. And we're going to cook this for about a minute more just to reheat the tofu and get it all nice and flavored, and you're ready to serve.
You gotta get the rice in there.
Oh my gosh, so good, man. This tofu is a great base for so many things. You can add whatever sauce you want.
Wow.
It's so good.
Does anybody else think that lemongrass tastes and smells like Lucky Charms?
Tricks.
It
does.
Definitely does.
Oh my gosh.
I could eat this all day. This would be great for meal prep too, I feel like. You just make a big batch, keep it in the fridge, serve it in like a veggie bowl.
I know, I would love this with some veggies. We didn't have any broccoli today. That would have been perfect with this.
Broccoli, cucumber, carrots.
Now we're going to show you a baked tofu method, and this method not only checks that box, but it also checks a few other boxes as well.
It is no press, so you don't have to waste any time pressing out any of the liquid. It's also gluten-free, so if you are allergic to gluten, have a sensitivity, or just want to avoid it, this is a perfect recipe for that.
And also, it requires just one sheet pan to make it and also one bowl to prep it. So it is very simple, very straightforward, and this recipe is really good for beginners, and it is so good. Don't let the tofu fool you, like we mentioned in the intro. It is packed with flavor, and I honestly was mind blown when we prepped this and when we tested this, and I was like, why didn't we do this sooner? It's so good.
It's unbelievable, and the way it looks too, it looks just like taco meat. It's a winner.
So the recipe is linked down below on our blog, so let's get into it. So first you're going to remove your firm tofu from the package, no need to press it, and then crumble that directly into a large bowl. Next I'm adding in some tomato sauce along with some apple cider vinegar, some tamari or soy sauce if you're not gluten-free, oil, and then some chili powder, cumin, nutritional yeast, smoked paprika, black pepper, dried oregano, some diced onions, finely minced garlic, and that's it. Mix it together until it is nice and uniform, and then transfer this to a lined baking sheet and spread it out in a single layer as thin as possible. We're going to pop that into the oven and bake it until it's nice and golden brown, and you have yourself some vegan taco meat. You can serve this however you'd like. We served ours with some diced onions, cilantro, and some lime juice.
I'm really excited. This looks so good. The way the tofu crisped up and like looked from the oven, oh my god. I can't wait.
That is so good. The key is not to dry out the tofu too much. Without pressing the tofu, it retains that moisture.
Makes it nice and juicy.
Yeah. I think if you were to press this and then cook it, it might get too dry.
This is also gluten-free, so very cool. If you do have a gluten allergy or sensitivity.
All right, on to the next recipe. The Next way we're going to show you how to prep tofu is in a handy dandy air fryer. We love making our tofu in here because it gets so crispy, so crunchy, so good. And it's a really great way to make tofu to snack on, to put tofu into salads, into pastas. There's so many different things that you can do with this crunchy tofu, so let's get started. So in my bowl, I'm going to be adding in some soy sauce. Then I have some olive oil, or you can use any oil of your choice. And then we're adding in some red wine vinegar. If you don't have red wine, balsamic would be a great alternative. Then we have some nutritional yeast, some Italian seasoning, and if you don't have this, you can also add some individual dried herbs as well. Some red pepper flakes, garlic powder, and then some onion powder, some salt and pepper. And then last but not least, we have our cornstarch. Just mix that all together until nice and uniform. And then I'm gonna add in some tofu. This is also pressed like our first recipe, pressed it the exact same way, and then I just cut it into cubes. And then now I'm just going to gently toss this all together. You can also put all of this into a reusable Ziploc bag. We love stasher bags, and that would be great to just add in and shake everything up. But I'm doing it in a bowl today just to show you that option as well. So I like to let my tofu sit in this mixture for about 10 minutes, and now I'm going to pop it into my air fryer. And when you're putting it in your air fryer, you have to make sure that it's not overcrowded and you're only doing a single layer of tofu. So I'm just gonna air fry this for about 20 minutes. It may depend on your air fryer, so just feel it out, check on it, and air fry it for less time or more time depending on your air fryer. And we're also going to make sure to flip it halfway through. So I just gotta say, I know these aren't the cutest tofus in the world, but
Tofus.
don't judge a book by its cover, trust me.
Also, I do have to say, when we were testing this recipe earlier this week, I had it cold out of the fridge the next day and it tasted so good. It wasn't as crispy, obviously, because it's been in the fridge, but I don't know, it tasted like really good cold and left over, so.
Good to
If you
know.
want to try that.
I need to finish chewing. Honestly, this is so good as just a snack. Like, I could just watch TV and eat these like popcorn.
I'd want to dip it in something, I think.
Yeah, this would be really good with the sauce, like a creamy sauce or
Hummus,
in like
maybe.
fettuccine. Oh my god, fettuccine Alfredo.
Or like dipped in pesto or something.
Or like in a salad with ranch. Ooh, salad with ranch, that'd be so good. So the next tofu preparation method we're covering in today's video is deep frying. We're actually going to make a veganized KFC fried chicken. And don't let the tofu fool you. This is some of the best vegan chicken I've ever had. And I also want to mention, if you don't like deep frying, we have an air fryer option for this recipe as well.
I really love this recipe. I think it's one of the best I've ever created. And a lot of people say it tastes just like chicken or what they remember chicken tasting like. So if you do make it, let us know. I think you'll really enjoy it.
So this recipe does require some prep a few days before, and it is not difficult, but it does take some time. So you're going to take your tofu and pop it into the freezer, let that completely freeze, and then remove it from the freezer, and then you're going to do that one more time. So freezing the tofu actually draws out a lot of liquid. It helps the tofu become nice and porous, and it just gives it that chickeny texture that we want. So you don't want to skip out on that because it won't turn out the same. So we did that over the last 2 days and the tofu is now ready. So once you have taken the tofu out and thawed it, you're going to drain out all of the liquid and then you're going to just press out the liquid from the tofu. You can actually do this with your hands. It is very easy. You just have to be very gentle with it. You can also do it between 2 cutting boards if you'd like as well. Just squeeze out all the liquid and then we like to pat it with a clean towel just to make sure we get all that out. So now we have our tofu. We're going to break that up into some small pieces and add it to a baking dish. Next I have some vegan chicken broth. We will link the one we use down below, and this is not chicken, but it just has the herbs and the spices to taste like a chicken broth. It is very spot on and it's very important in this recipe because it helps bring that flavor. So I'm gonna pour that over my tofu. And soaking the tofu in this actually brings some moisture into the recipe. It gives you that nice like juicy chicken texture. It is very good and very spot on. So we're going to set this aside. Next, we're going to prepare vegan buttermilk. This is super simple. You just mix some non-dairy milk with some apple cider vinegar, mix it and set it aside to curdle. Next up, I'm prepping the dry ingredients. So this recipe is all about the seasoning blend. The seasoning blend in the dry mixture is what really makes this taste like KFC fried chicken. So you don't want to skip out on anything if you can. So first, we're going to add some all-purpose flour to a bowl. And then for my seasonings, I have some Italian seasoning, paprika, mustard powder, garlic salt, celery salt, ginger, black pepper, and white pepper. And I'm just gonna mix that all together until it is nice and uniform. The next step is to bread our tofu. So I set up an assembly line. I have the tofu in the broth, then I have my buttermilk mixture, the dry mixture that we made, and then just something to put the tofu on after I dredge it and everything. Also, a tip that Chris taught me is to use dry forks and wet forks, because if you use the same one, it gets clumpy and messy, and this is just cleaner. So we're gonna grab our piece of tofu and then just squeeze out the extra liquid. And then first we're going to dunk this in the buttermilk mixture. Just use our fork to toss it around. And then we're going to get that and drop that into the dry mixture. And then using our dry forks, we're going to coat the piece. Make sure it's nice and well coated. And then we're just going to grab that and set it aside. And I'm gonna continue with the remaining tofu. And next, we are going to bread our tofu once again. This is a double battered recipe. Before we double batter it, we're going to actually add something else to the flour mixture. And this is the key to making it nice and crispy and having that flaky texture. And what we're gonna add is some cornflakes. So I'm just gonna take the cornflakes and crush them in my hands and add it to the bowl. And it's okay if you get some big pieces in there. You don't want them to be super uniform, because that's what gives the chicken the flaky texture. And then we're just gonna batter that once more. So we're gonna dunk our tofu into the buttermilk mixture and then into the flour and cornflake mixture and then back onto our rack.
We're getting ready to fry our tofu, and we just wanna make sure that it's at the right temperature. So we just have a little scrap from the tofu we breaded, and we're just gonna dip it in the oil. And as long as it's bubbling, which it is, we know we are good to go. I'm so excited.
I'm so ready. I'm eating mine with ketchup, of course. I don't think you want.
I'm just gonna have mine as is.
What piece do I want? What piece? I want like extra crispy.
This one's super crispy. I love the way it looks.
The smaller the pieces are, like the tofu pieces, I feel like the crispier it is, right?
Totally. Oh my god. Look at the inside too.
This is so good.
It doesn't get any better.
I'm bringing it back to my childhood. My mom used to buy KFC, bring it to the park with some rice.
Wouldn't let her eat the skin now.
She wouldn't let me eat the skin. Actually,
like the coating.
She would literally peel the skin off and then
like the breading and everything.
Yeah, I was sad. And like we mentioned earlier, we do have an air fryer option if you want to air fry. Next tofu preparation method we're covering in this video is a blended recipe, and we're also going to be making a dessert. So silken tofu is the star of the show for this recipe, and we're going to be making a pumpkin chocolate mousse tart. This is such a great dessert to make, and it's so easy to put together. Plus it is high in protein, it is super creamy, and no one would ever know that there's tofu in it. So let's get started. So to get started, we're going to prep our crust, and to my food processor, I'm going to be adding in some hazelnuts, some rolled oats, coconut oil, maple syrup, and a pinch of salt. And I'm going to process that until it is nice and uniform, and you'll know it's done when the crust sticks together when you squeeze it between your fingers. Next, I have a greased tart pan, and I'm going to add my crust into that and press it in tightly, and we want to evenly distribute it, make sure there's no holes, and make sure that you're going up the sides so you have a nice crust on the edges. And then we're just going to pop this into the oven to bake. So as the crust cools, we're going to prep our filling, and all you need is a high-speed blender to do this. So to my blender, I'm adding in my silken tofu, along with some melted dark chocolate, then some pumpkin puree, maple syrup for a sweetener, some vanilla extract, pumpkin pie spice or cinnamon, and then some espresso powder. And then I'm just going to blend this all together until it is nice and smooth. Once your crust has cooled, we're going to pour in our filling. And we're gonna spread that out until it's nice and even. And it's going to seem loose at first, but once you pop it in the fridge and let it set, it's going to have that perfect mousse consistency, and it's gonna be so good. So the tart is now set, and now it is time to decorate it. You could really do whatever you'd like with this. You could also skip the step as well. I am going to be putting some berries, some extra hazelnuts, and some mint on it. And this is probably gonna take me a while because I want it to be perfect. So we're gonna do a little time lapse here with you and show you the finished product. Ready?
I'm excited.
All right, taste test time.
Ooh. I love that
Oh my
it's
God.
sweet, but not too sweet. And you can really taste like the cinnamon, and it's very well rounded, the flavor.
Yeah.
It's not just sweetness.
You gotta try this. Thank you all so much for watching.
We hope you enjoyed this video.
If you did, please give it a thumbs up if you can. It really helps us out here on YouTube, and also consider subscribing down below if you aren't already subscribed.
Let us know what your favorite recipe of the day was, and let us know if you're gonna try any of these.
Also, let us know if there's any tofu recipes that you make that you want us to try. I'm always down to try a new tofu recipe. I love tofu, clearly, as you saw in this video, and I'm always open to trying something new.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys being here. We love you, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.